Hello, one and all, and welcome to the history of horror. I'm Chad Rojas, and I'll be your humble guide through this thrilling adventure to the past. Thank you all for joining me for today's episode, Slashing the Silver Screen, presented on your favorite fictional radio station, Chaddington FM. Today, we're going to be covering the evolution of slasher films in the horror genre, from the humble beginnings of Alfred Hitchcock's film reels in the 60s to the blood-filled ones of Wes Craven in the mid-90s. On our first stop on this terrifying trip through time, we arrive, Veterans Day, 1959, the day Psycho started filming. Dubbed a Proto-Slasher, it lays the foundation of the modern slasher film. An ominous killer preying upon a group of people usually secluded from major civilization, such as the case with the Bates Motel being located off the old highway, and the killer that occupies the space between its walls, Norman Bates. However, compared to horror movies yet to come, Psycho has a shockingly low kill count, with only 2 kills, one of which is the famous shower scene. You know the one. Other notable proto-slasher films include The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Jaws, released in 1974 and 75 respectively. And then, it happened in 1978.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was released, and it completely revolutionized the genre. I'm just kidding, of course. I'm talking about a film with only a marginally greater impact on how people see a white painted latex Will Shatner mask. John Carpenter's Halloween hit theaters and kicked off the golden age of slasher films. Titular characters like Laurie Strode and Michael Myers solidified its spot in pop culture as horror's first official slasher. The reason Halloween sticks out as the pinnacle of slasher movies is because it builds on all of its predecessors. It has all the hallmarks of a great slasher film, a terrifying villain with an even more terrifying soundtrack, such as in the aforementioned films. I mean, come on, there are few themes more iconic than these. The Michael Myers mask is a sight that is not soon forgotten. Burned into the collective consciousness of moviegoers across the country, the blank face of horror was born. Halloween has a sympathetic protagonist that audiences can identify with, masterfully portrayed by Final Girl, Jamie Lee Curtis. Quick pause for definition. Final Girl, the last survivor in the film that escapes the killer. Think Sally Hardesty or Sidney Prescott. And the final girl doesn't always have to be a girl. Think Ash Williams from the Evil Dead films. Okay, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Halloween took a different approach to terrifying the audience. Rather than showing gratuitous violence, executive producer Irwin Yablans wanted the audience to use theater of the mind for its main source of terror. For he wanted to evoke a real sense of terror, instead of repulsion from the gore, as some other films did. With his score and perfectly executed shots, John Carpenter creates a film that will have you on the edge of your seat for an hour and a half. In 1980, Friday the 13th came out, and was designed to be a bloodier, raunchier version of Halloween, which it does wonderfully. Friday takes everything that made Halloween such a great success and applies a healthy coating of fake blood. And contrary to most people's expectations that watch it, the original Friday the 13th doesn't include Jason Voorhees or his iconic goalie mask. In 81, the Evil Dead turns the killer into an entity, with the woods outside the Nobi cabin becoming haunted when a tape recording reads a passage from the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, or the Book of the Dead. Bruce Campbell plays lovable protagonist Ash Williams, who has to survive this Lovecraftian fantasy horror flick as his friends are turned into deadites. Because of Halloween's success, over the coming years, us moviegoers were treated to now classics like My Bloody Valentine, When a Stranger Calls, and Silent Night, Deadly Night, as well as hundreds of other films that try to ride the coattails of Halloween. As the mid-80s approached, slasher craze faded as studios recycled and sometimes blatantly stole ideas to keep churning out these blood-covered money bags. Until 1984, when Freddy Krueger came slashing his way through the silver screen and into our collective nightmares. The golden age slasher films end with Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. Despite the great success of Nightmare, interest in the genre subsided, thus ushering in a new era of slashers, the silver age of direct-to-video low-budget sequels. This lasted from 1985 to 1996 with another one of Wes Craven's landmark films, Scream. Scream revolutionized the genre, creating an entirely new subgenre of horror called meta horror that took all the tropes from your classic slasher and flipped it on its head. Scream was able to revitalize the genre and create brand new fans that carried it into the annals of horror history. Stick around for part 2 of the Slashing the Silver Screen saga that will be coming out soon. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, be on the lookout for next week's episode where we're going to cover survival horror gaming's most influential series,
Resident Evil.
Alright, well, we'll see you next time.